Have you ever headed to an objective and right as you get there, your opponent has already beat you to it and they're already headed back to their spawn before you even arrive? Well, that's where rollouts come in. Rollouts, or just a way for you to go from your spawn straight to an objective as quick as possible by maximizing movement and your abilities as the operatives, is very important, especially on Retrieve XM game modes, because every little second counts and you want to be as efficient as possible with your movement so that you don't waste time, you don't get stuck on objects, and also you can get the objectives much quicker than your opponents can react, and then they're left standing there not knowing what to do because now you've taken the objective and they're panicking, thinking, do I try to kill him before he gets back to his spawn? Do I go for another objective? And you've won simply by being efficient with your movement right out of the gate. So let's have a look at how this is done. So here we are on Iridium plains, and this is what I'll call the attacker side, the side that goes first, and then I'll just call the opposite side defender side. There isn't really an attack or defense on XM, but I'll just call it that to differentiate between who goes first and who goes second, just for simplicity's sake. So as an attacker, what I normally do is I open with Vendetta, because Vendetta is actually relatively quite quick compared to most of the other operatives in their base sort of running and jumping and sliding movement. Of course, aside from Toxin and Rush, which use their abilities to speed up. But if we're just talking about running, sliding, and jumping, Vendetta is actually pretty quick. So what I like to do with Vendetta is I like to utilize that jump pad right there, and I go running down here by doing a slide jump and then bunny hop to maximize the speed here instead of just running straight like this. If you want to know how to do the slide jump and bunny hop, Snail has a really good sort of ultimate movement guide for Lemnis. What we're going to do is we're actually going to, and I'll demonstrate this with the drone, we're going to run along here as fast as we can with the slide jump and bunny hop as quickest movement as we can. And ideally what we want to do is we want to slide into this jump pad so that gives us enough air to be able to put down a turret mid-air. And if you're able to do it, what you can actually do is, even if you don't put a turret down, when you get to about here above the XM, you're going to slam down and grab it as quick as you can. What I've noticed a lot is people might know this, but then when they get here, they slide, they bounce, and they let themselves fly over, and they wait until gravity brings them down, and then by then sometimes D is already taken by the opponent, and then by the time you run through, it's already gone. So what I like to do is once I come here and once I slam up, if I can time it right, you can actually place a turret and then slam down, but if not, it's no big deal. Right now the importance is grabbing the XM, but bounce up, slam down, take D, and then we actually take the jump pad on the way back. I like to slam like this and then head back over. So I'll show you in full speed. What we're going to do is we're going to run, slide jump, bunny hop, slide, place a turret down, grab it, bring it back, and bring it back. Now, as you can see, I only ended up placing a ground turret down. This is probably the fastest way you're going to be able to both get a turret and slam down. What you can do is slide jump here, and once you get to this point here, you can slide, place a flying turret. The only issue is that you will either overshoot like I have here, or it'll just take you a while to actually place a turret and come down. So it's up to you whether you want to prioritize actually getting a flying turret and then getting the objective. I personally feel like the objectives are more important than the actual flying turrets, so I personally wouldn't mind just getting this guy down here on the ground, or maybe not even putting a turret down at all, and simply slamming down on the objective and then heading back, trying to get back as quick as I can. So not really necessarily a rollout for this one on Iridium plains, but definitely one of the things that I like to do to open the round as quick as possible. Now what I like to do with Toxin is head for A, and that's because what I like to do is I like to get over this hump here, or this slope, because in Lemnis you can't slide up slopes, so a lot of slopes and stairs are actually some of the things you want to avoid as much as you can if you're going for maximum speed. So the good thing about Toxin is I can teleport right to the very top of it and not have to worry about it. Then what I do is I run and slide through here, and then the best thing about this is that Toxin can actually avoid most of this exposed path by throwing a teleport once you get through this door, or even just before, as the doors will have a motion sensor and open up. So when you get to about here, you throw your teleport or your displacer right to the far doors, and you'll actually teleport across this gap without being exposed to fire. And since the XM is actually on your side of the door, it's interesting that they've decided not to place it right in the middle. I think this is more sort of in terms of equal distance between the two spawns. So what you want to do is, as you come through the door, literally just immediately turn around as quick as you can to kind of clip the edge of the XM and grab it. And then from here you have a choice. You can either run and slide and get through the door, or what I like to do is run, slide, but then aim to throw my displacer up and over, and if you can, you'll actually get it to land over here, and then you just continue on your momentum and head back to the spawn. And it looks a little something like this. You'll see I am a bit exposed there, As you can see, we did have to actually slide in order to get over. So this is kind of a personal choice here. I personally will take that risk just because it is the quickest possible way to get back. And because you're sliding, it's a little bit of a harder striker sniper shot. If they do go for a sniper kill there, they do have to headshot you, mind you. And you can always counter that by just shielding your Toxin. And I don't think they'll have much chance to actually get 3 shots off in order to kill you. So this is one of the best ways to go for A by using Toxin. Now, one thing you can use for rush on this side is, unfortunately, there isn't any necessarily jump pads right away off the spawn that you can utilize. But what I like to do sometimes with rush is actually to come up this way, dash up this slope, and then coming through here, through this gap here, is slide jumping over this gap. And then that way grabbing C and only really being exposed for a very short amount of time and then getting back into cover right away to C. So it looks like this at full speed. Often people like to go for B. You could go for B here and come in here, grab B, and then bounce up and return. However, I feel like this angle here, unfortunately, when you get to about here, it's very easy for the opponent to just stand there and deathblow rocket, captain grenade, striker sniper shot just to the body, and you get taken out as rush pretty quickly. Now, bear in mind, probably the same thing for C. However, this I find is more of a common path to take, and I like to take a little bit more of an unexpected path. So if you haven't seen this already, what I like to do is sprint jump, dash up the slope, then sprint jump again, grab C, and head back this way as well. Generally being in cover for most of it, and then later on you can go for other objectives, A, D, or B after that. That's just one little way. Don't use it all the time, don't use it every single time, but again, one possible way you can use rush to get around and stay in cover for the most part. Now on the defender side, something that I like to do on defender side is contest D as Vendetta as an opener. So for my first round, if I've seen them do the slide jump Vendetta onto the jump pad and onto D, I know that from this distance you can actually beat the attacking Vendetta pretty easily going for Delta. This is one of the quickest ways to get to Delta, and I really enjoy using it. So basically same thing, you're going to run, slide jump, and then what you're going to do is slide into the jump pad and immediately slam down onto Delta. Fortunately with this one, you probably won't have a chance to put a turret down, and I personally will value the objectives more than getting a single turret down. Fortunately, this thing's in the way, so it kind of ruins it, but basically the idea looks like this. Grab it, and then you can head back, and then place it here. Of course, this is the wrong gate because I'm in training mode right now, but that's the general idea what you want to do. You can get much quicker, much more efficient with it. This is kind of throwing me off right now, but basically you just run, slide jump. You can just jump into it if you like. That's probably the quickest instead of having to slide into it. But you want to use this jump pad, and you want to remember to slam on the way over. You want to definitely slam on the way over once you get over the bridge, because if you wait, you'll see it takes quite a while to actually get over that. But if you slam, it's much quicker. And once you get here, just slam down and get it quickly and get out of there. So that's what I like to do with Vendetta. So one of the other rollouts you can do here is using Toxin, and I like to use Toxin to go for A pretty quickly, because what you do with Toxin is you actually get to go down this route here, and you can actually pretty much stay safe through here because you can teleport past this sort of exposed area and allow you to get into A quickly. So there are kind of two ways of doing this. What you can do is immediately teleport right off the spawn, run a little bit, and then teleport right in front of the door. That was a little bit short, but then you get the idea. Teleport into the door so that you never actually do cross this dangerous sort of exposed area. Grab A as quick as you can, and then even teleport back and head home. One thing you do have to be wary of is once you do the first teleport, there'll be a tendency to, if you do have the movement down, to slide jump into it. But if you get too close, you'll notice your displacer won't activate if you're trying to aim at the door. So what you'll need to do is aim it a little bit low on the second one, just to make sure that you land on your feet in front of the door. And just be careful about this exposure, but if you get it right in front of the door, it's perfect. Door opens and you come in. That is the first method. The second method, which I believe both work just as fine, is actually run to the bottom of the stairs, slide, and then throw it. And with this one, you're only going to get one teleport, but then what you do is just slide jump into it. You go by pretty fast, you are still exposed, but there's less chance for you to mess up because you're not trying to throw multiple displacers, you're just throwing one to the general area of the path, getting in, and then getting out as quick as you can. So that's one way, or the other way is to just throw the teleport, slide, throw the teleport, grab it, and throw the teleport back. It's a very fast way of getting A, and you'll still have plenty of time. From there, you have the choice of either throwing the teleport and getting the teleport to land down here into the hallway, and going for B, which what you'll do is you don't even need to actually run up here. You can actually do it from the top of the ramp. So once you've gone for A, or if maybe you don't even want to go for A, maybe you just think you're not going to get there in time, or for whatever reason, it's just not something you want to do, right off the spawn, you can go for B, and all you're doing is aiming for that second window on the left there between my crosshairs. And if you can throw your displacer up and over that, you'll land at the door to B. So you'll want to actually get onto actual ramp first before you throw it. If you throw it down here, you can see my character still hasn't, or the icon still hasn't quite gotten over, and it won't be until about here, there you go, almost up to the top of the ramp, before you can throw it, land right at the front of the door and grab it quick. Two ways that I like to use Toxin right away. If you want to, since you do start here at the beginning, you can just run, slide jump, throw it, grab it, and then go. So some ways to use Toxin, and remember, one of Toxin's biggest assets is her displacer. So if you pull out Toxin, yes, you can throw goo everywhere and do some damage, but on XM you want to be using Toxin to get as quickly as possible to the objectives and get out as quickly as possible as well. So that's some ways to use Toxin. Now with Rush on defender side, for me personally, there isn't that many too big Rush rollouts, because for you to really get anywhere useful, you'd either have to dash up here the stairs. Remember, we don't like slope stairs because we can't slide on above them. What you can do is just dash over them. You can get to A pretty quickly, straightforward, as long as you do the slide jumps and dash. However, I haven't really tested it in terms of going against a lot of the Toxins. Generally, I find that Toxin to here beats a Rush coming from the defender side, because also the objective is on the attacker side. So I generally reserve Rush for later in the rounds when I have a better idea of where I'd like to go, and then use him more as a free roamer. Either go for B this way, or the better route for Rush is actually to slide jump and either dash through here, or you could actually, if you wanted to, come through here so that when you grab it, you're out immediately. So I generally don't use Rush for many rollouts on this side. I use him more as a cleanup kind of guy. So that's Iridium Plains. So here we are on Quarry, and for me, again, similar to Iridium Plains, I like to open with Vendetta simply because I enjoy sort of sliding off here, jumping down, placing a turret, and then heading down for C. That seems to be a common opener. Vendetta in general is a common opener for a lot of people. The other operatives have the abilities to counter a lot, whereas Vendetta, so you want to utilize her speed as much as you can on XM and get those turrets down as soon as possible. So with Vendetta, what I've noticed is a lot of people know to, if they do, to slide jump off the edge, place a turret midair, but then when they get to this point, what I notice is they land and either just continue to run straight, or they land and slide, or they land and slide jump and do one of those. Okay, however, the fastest way that I've found, and seen others do it as well, is that when you do your slide jump, when you get to the ground, is to press space again to continue that momentum with a sort of a bunny hop. And then you don't have to add any more slides and jumps, because you do have to, when you do a slide jump, if you want to slide again, you do have to take a couple more steps, but this you don't take any extra steps. So what it looks like in full speed is you slide jump, and as you land, you press space again, and you bounce forward with a bit of a bunny hop. And then it's up to your choice whether you want to go back through here or up through the middle. Doesn't really matter, but that's how I generally use Vendetta. Often what you want to do with Vendetta, while you're in the air, put down turrets, bounce once, and you get there much quicker. It works for both sides, and I find it's the fastest way as Vendetta to get there is to make sure you do that extra little bounce off the ground, the bunny hop. So with Toxin, I generally like to go Toxin here and go for B, because from my testing and being in game, I found that for the most part, most of the time, you can actually beat the opposing Toxin to B if you spawn from this side. I believe this is because you don't have to run as far here, and the distance is just that little bit shorter, and there's less obstacles in your way, because as a Toxin from this side, you're going to slide jump off here, and while you're midair, you're going to throw your displacer, and you're going to basically aim anywhere over this area. You can even aim it right onto the XM, whereas for the opposing side, they're a little bit further back, as you can tell here from the ledge, so there will be a couple extra steps of movement for the opposing Toxin. However, if they're quick, they can still do this. They can slide jump off here and then throw their displacer. Now, if they don't get it right, they can actually end up landing on the rooftop edge here, and by then you would have already landed on B and you're out before they can even come off the edge of the roof. So it looks like this. What you're going to do is come up here, slide jump, throw the displacer, land pretty much right on B, and then you have a choice. Then you can either, if you want to go up the stairs, go down the side. I personally like to go in here and cover, and then slide jump, teleport, and deliver B right away. Now as Toxin, if you don't want to go for B, say for whatever reason you have guaranteed B or something happens in the match where you don't need to be rushing for it, what you can do is go for A. What I like to do is to come over this side and just slide jump wherever around here and just make sure that my displacer goes up and over this edge here. And generally it should clear that edge as well, and you can actually teleport almost directly onto A. That's another possible route. I don't use it very often. I probably go for B more often than not, but if you did, you can come here, run through here, and you're right next to A. Now, you could go a little shorter. I generally like to air a little bit longer just so I don't catch the edge of this building here. Grab A and head back. But like I said, this is less used for me. I personally like to use Toxin from this angle to go for B as quick as I can, land right on B, and then head home. So that's the Toxin quote-unquote rollout that I like to do right off spawn. Now, knowing that Vendetta goes for C and Toxin goes for B, that leaves us with A and D for Rush. And the reason I like using Rush for A and D, and specifically D, is because what I do with Rush is I come over here and head to this corner of the platform. I will slide jump when I get to about here so that I kind of carry momentum up and over the edge. And I land here. So I'm actually not touching any of this corner. I'm slide jumping over. I'll do it one more time. You're not going to start the slide jump right away. You're going to do it until you get to this broken piece right here. I'm going to run, slide jump, get over, and then when I get here, I'm going to dash immediately and use the momentum to bring over here and grab D. Now you'll notice it took me a while to actually get around to D. What I do is when you get to here, slide jump, come around, and when you dash, when we get up and over, I'll use the drone to simulate it. When we get up and over, what I do is I come around here, is I immediately, as I clear this ledge here, press C to slam down and stop myself. What that'll do is it'll avoid you overshooting, but also it quickens the time, because once you get to this point, you immediately stop the momentum, you slam down and take D, and then from there you have three choices. You can either go back down the long way, but however I don't like this because it's a bit exposed. You can drop down here and immediately go for the jump pads and make your way back, or my favorite, but takes a little practice, is as you boost around, you grab it, you drop down right in here, because this allows you to be in cover to a lot once you get into the stairs and you run through, you're back in cover most of the way back and back home. So that's the one I like. So to show you guys in full speed, is from here, spawn, slide jump, come around, dash, slam down, and then you have a choice of going through. Now that might have happened quite quick for you guys, so just notice how I don't. This is me without slamming. See, I drift. You drift quite far, and it's quite hard to stop yourself. So in order to stop that drift, just go dash, slam down, and then I'm out. And that can be pretty quick and pretty hard to take out unless they commit, for example, a striker or slow-mo taking you out. So that's one of them I like. Now, one of the other ones you can do is head straight for A if you don't want to go for D. And it's a similar process, except instead of coming here and going to the corner, what I generally do, slide jump over, you'll clear all the objectives, and I just slam down right in front of D, or A, sorry. So I don't actually even use the dash ability. You could probably use the dash ability as well to just get over there quickly and then slam down. That's generally what you can do. So two options there. However, I find this one where you dash over is pretty exposed for most of the time you're in the air. So I generally like to come down, get down here quickly, more in cover for most part, dash, slam, and then I have a choice, minimizing the exposure and maximizing the time that it takes me, my use of time. So that is how I use both Vendetta to go for C, Toxin to go for B, and then how I like to use Rush to go for D. Now on the flip side, when you're going second, here what I like to do, again, is to use Vendetta to go for C. Generally, I'm using the same operatives for the same points. So here I use Vendetta for C, I will also use Toxin for B, and I will use Rush for D. The map on Quarry is mirrored generally pretty well, so you can do the similar things. So what I do with Vendetta is if I choose Vendetta first, you will spawn on the most far left position. What I like to do is the same exact thing as the slide jump and then bunny hop when you land. Throw it down, jump, and you get there pretty quickly. If both sides do this, this is pretty tight in a race, but I find sometimes you get the edge here coming from this side, because the second you grab it, you just come out the stairs and you're out of there. So that's what I like to do with Vendetta. Same thing for Toxin. Toxin, if you go first, you'll spawn here. So this is a little bit far, so I generally don't like to use Toxin right away for B. I use Vendetta first. The reason I use Toxin second is because Toxin stands the most furthest to the right, and this gives you that much bit of help trying to get to B quickly. And what I do is I run off here, I slide jump and Toxin over the roof there. Toxin displacer over that roof. So I just wanted to show you the slide jump. So with the displacer at the same time, let's say roughly about here is where you spawn. You're gonna run, you're gonna slide jump. And if you wait just that bit of extra time, you'll have enough forward movement that you'll bring the displacer up and over the roof here and then land onto B. and then come back through here, through cover, slide jump, and bring it back. And finally with rush, it's a very similar process to the opposing side, but instead what you're going to do is you're going to come down this way. You're going to slide jump off here, or your goal is to slide jump just before, and you're going to carry your momentum over the top here. And once you land is an immediate dash. Same idea, you're going to dash and you're going to maneuver yourself around here, and then as you get over D, same exact thing, you're going to slam down to stop your momentum and then head home. And then from here you have another choice. You can head down this way here, or you can drop down here in a bit of cover for a little bit of time before you bounce back up again and take the XM back to base. So here's what it looks like in full speed. When you spawn, you're going to run, slide jump, dash over the pad, you're going to slam down and then bring it home and back like that. So that's how you use rush around there. Now you can also use rush to, once you slide over here, is dash and then slam down and take A right away. Two ways of doing it, doesn't really matter. I prefer going for D personally, because A I feel like is a little bit more less efficient. You could do that and grab A, that's one way of doing it as well, but I generally like to do the little surf around because it also feels kind of cool. So that is the rollouts that I have learned and started using myself on Quarry. So for here, one of my favorite maps, Tectonic Wells, what I like to actually start off with is not Vendetta, contrary to Iridium Plains and Quarry. What I like to actually start off with is Toxin. And the reason for that, the first person you choose spawns from the furthest to the left here, and I like to use Toxin because my goal is to get to B first. You spawn roughly about here as Toxin with the first operative you choose. So what I like to do is right off the spawn, now you do have to kind of adjust for a small bug in the map right now. If you spawn and immediately displace her, what will happen is that won't actually happen. There's a bug right now where stood here. Now this might change, just this is as of November 2nd. The bug is that when you immediately press F off spawn, you end up teleporting somewhere over the end of the map there, and it kind of screws with your timing and obviously messes everything up. So what you want to do is just take a step or two forward and then throw your displacer. So once I spawn here, I just grab it, displacer, and then when I get here, in the time it takes for my displacer to come off cooldown, I actually run and slide into the slope. And once I get just over the slope, I like to displacer. So here I'll do it full speed for you. So spawn, run, displacer, slide, displacer, grab B. Now what most people do then, after they do the double displacer, is they go running up here. However, you're exposed this entire time and then until you teleport. So what I've learned to do, because I used to do this quite a lot myself, is once you get the XM from here, immediately come down through here and throw a displacer over the edge. So like that. And you'll get quite far down the bridge, or halfway down the bridge, and bring B back. Then after I take B, because Toxin moves so quickly, I do have still quite a bit of time to go for other objectives. So what I like to do is try and get a triple. What I do then is I come up to here, and up to about this pad here at the top, or maybe even down a step down to the ramp here, I actually slide jump and get all the way over here, and I want to avoid the jump pad. The reason I want to avoid the jump pad is I'm trying to be as quick as I can to get to A. If you land on the jump pad, it's going to force you to bounce up and you're just wasting time and you have to slam down again. Whereas if you land immediately, you can immediately initiate into a slide, grab A, and then come home. So once I've taken A and I've made my second trip back, now what I want to do, you still have time to go get C if you're quick enough. So what I like to do is with A, I want to run alongside here and sprint jump along here just so that I can get to that spot there that I've shot. That's kind of where I'm aiming for A. But for C, I'm actually aiming to land right onto the jump pad and bounce myself up onto C. Now the ledge there that you can see at C, you have to be careful of clipping against that ledge. Sometimes I also end up hitting the wall here. So this takes a bit of practice, making sure that you miss the ledge and you actually land onto the platform at C. So it looks something like this. Okay, I got a little stuck there, but still got up here. Grabs the, and then what you want to do here is slide jump and teleport back. And then you deliver. So to show you the full run with Toxin, what I like to do is once I spawn, come down here, throw it, slide, throw it, grab B, come back, throw it. So you can see I didn't really slide there, and then come down here, go for A, slide, come back, grabs A, go down for C, slide, and head home. And if you're quick enough, you can get all three objectives within the 25 seconds. So once I've gone with Toxin to B first right off spawn, and then to A and C later, or C and then A, it doesn't really matter, you can interchange which ones you go for first. What I like to do with Vendetta is immediately go for A. all the while placing turrets when I'm flying in the air. What I like to do, because Vendetta spawns to the right as the second operative you choose here, again, that's because I like to choose Vendetta second. You don't have to. You can choose Vendetta first here if you'd like, or Vendetta, you know, 3, 4, 5 in the middle. But I generally go Toxin 1, Vendetta 2. But that's also not always the case. That just seems to be what I like so far recently. So what I do with Vendetta, when I go second, I just run, do the exact same thing, slide jump off this ramp here. And I land right on there, enough to grab A very quickly and bring it back. What I like to do is actually place a turret while I'm in midair, so that when I land, I've got a flying turret right behind me covering me, and then also on the way back. With Vendetta, the good thing about Vendetta is while she's placing down her turret, she's locked so that you can't actually move laterally, but you can do a turn. You can't actually move in the air. So what's good about that is once you get your momentum coming back this way, you're okay to turn around while you're throwing the turret down, and you won't sort of, for example, go off to the sides. You'll stay straight, and then once you put your turret down, you deliver A, and then you come back and do the same thing and go for C. I personally go for A mostly because A is easier to make sure that I miss the jump pad and grab the XM, whereas if I go for C, what sometimes happens is if I've already taken A and then I come for C, what I've noticed is sometimes if I'm holding W, you can actually land and hit the underside of this roof, and you kind of get yourself stuck and you're down here. You've already taken A, so you're kind of stood here with an empty space and you've missed C. So C takes a little bit of practice as you come through to make sure that you still... I had to tap S there to make sure my momentum was stopped for a second in order to get up and over the ledge. Grab C, and then here you don't need to land on that jump pad anymore. What I can do is just sprint jump, and now you can actually make this gap with Vendetta. So grab C, sprint jump, we get it over and come back. I wouldn't bother with a turret on the way back there. I'd focus on just getting C as quick as I can. So that's how you do Vendetta, mostly focusing on A and the C. And if you have any time left over, I just run, place a turret. Don't care if I die because I'll just spawn back. I've already done my job of taking the XMs. Just keep placing turrets down so that you kind of have a flock of turrets protecting your side of the map. So one common strategy or rollout tech that many people often use on Tectonic wells from this side is to rush dash onto the jump pad. Now it's being coined surfing it, and what will happen is you'll carry the momentum up and over, and what you're aiming to do is to try to use your aiming, or I use my mouse as PC, get around the rock, and you'll fly in air carrying the momentum all the way and land pretty much in the shadow, and you can grab D very, very quickly. This is a very common strategy to use. And the best thing about this, you don't have to do anything other than just run and press F, and it'll take you all the way down. Notice how right away when I dashed, I looked to the left, because if you don't look left right away and you just dash, you'll hit it and it'll kill all of your momentum. So what you want to do, just using your aiming reticle, if you use a controller or mouse, once you dash, look to the left, and even if you bump slightly into the rock, you can see I can still make it there pretty easily. So one more time. I spawn. Now if my Vendetta spawns the second position, third position is right next to her, so it's still pretty close. You can actually almost dash pretty much right away. You could just take one step, dash, and you land all the way over here. Grab D. What I do is then I like to dash back so I'm exposed as little as possible and just come home. Now what then I see most people do after they've taken D in that surf across and back is they come over here and they either dash down to take A, C, or maybe they come all the way and take B. What I personally like to do is actually continue to use this dash technique, but then what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to dash up here, and when I get over the sort of in the air over the roof here, I don't keep going for D. I actually loop back around using my momentum and land here on this ledge, grab C just to double up on it, and then what I can also do, same thing, dash again up and over, but this time I'm looking to go under, and you can land about here, take A in a big loop, and dash out as well. So I'll show you that. This is grabbing C. Of course I missed the slide, but you wouldn't normally. And then as you come back, dash again, except this time I'm going for A, grab A, and that's one way to do 2 loops and use that jump pad to its maximum efficiency. Dash over, take D, come back around, dash over, take C or A, doesn't really matter, and do that once more. The only downside to this is you are quite exposed the entire time you're doing this to the opposing team, so a good striker here will look to be shooting you in the air. However, if you can get a shield on your rush, then maybe you have a chance of doing it. So that is the rush technique that I like using off of this side. Now, if you're going second here on the quote-unquote defender side of Tectonic Wells, what I like to do right away is actually open with Toxin and not open with Vendetta like, again, the other maps. What I do, because their first spawn is here, what I like to do here with Toxin is immediately run to this corner here, slide jump off of this edge, and head for Charlie. The reason I go for C is because as you come here, you are slightly exposed, but if you slide jump and almost shift to the right a bit, you actually don't really have to, but what you can do is slide jump here, you can land right in front of these boxes in cover. You can turn, and what I do is I don't actually fully run over the XM. What I do is just turn almost like a 180 pivot here and use kind of my left shoulder or my left arm to just clip against the XM, capture it, and immediately what you can do is slide jump off this corner and throw a teleport behind this rock or wall or even just this gap here, and you can get back very quickly. Let's demonstrate. Start back here, run, slide jump, grab C, slide jump. Even if I miss the slide jump, you can still get back in time and deliver it. So I quite like it, and it's one thing I use often. Then, just like the opposite side, once you've grabbed C, assuming I deliver this because I'm on the wrong gate, you can actually then just come over A and throw your displacer over the top. What that'll do is actually throw you and you'll land right on the A XM. But you gotta be careful, you probably will land on the jump pad, as I'll try now. Yep, so you'll land on the jump pad, so just aim a little bit to the left or right. I would air more to the right because you've got more rock space here. If you go too far left, you could fall down there. So let's say you've come back, you've delivered C. What I do with A then is I look to the right of A, fire, I'm landing. See, this is already pretty close, but I do that pretty early. And you can go for A right away, and same thing, deliver it home. So once more, I'm going to do the full loop. I'm going to run through, slide, grab C, wrong gate, pretend that delivered, grab A, and grab that, and that way you can get 2 pretty quickly and be exposed for a minimal amount of time. Now many people might say, well, Schmitty, why don't you go for B, because the opposite Toxin goes for B. Well, what I noticed from timing this and also trying it in game a couple times is that when Toxin goes here for the displace, then runs over and then displaces onto B, generally what I found, if the opposing Toxin is quick and they actually use that first operative slot and spawn with Toxin first in the first round, they will generally, with a double displacer throw, double teleport, will get to B before you can. For my testing, it seems to be much easier to beat you coming from that side, so I don't use Toxin for B. I think that it's much more efficient to use Toxin to get to C much quicker, because you can pretty much right off spawn, take 2 steps, slide jump and teleport, whereas for this side, with Toxin, number one, you'll see most people will go for B as Toxin, so that kind of guarantees that you'll get C freely because nothing can beat you there if they use a Toxin. Or they will have to run a couple more steps, slide jump, and I find that you're quicker on this side to get to C than they are. So I use this to my advantage. I don't bother trying to contest something where, for the most part, they will beat me there. I can deal with that later, like for example, a Deathblow Mine in a rocket, knowing they're going to go there, or maybe a Striker headshot as they come by. So I don't worry about B as much. I more worry about contesting the middle of the map. So after using Toxin first and going down and take C and then possibly A, what I like to do with Vendetta is actually use this little gap here, and not as many people realize you can do this that I've seen, but what you can do, and I'll credit Chosen for finding this out, is you can actually slide jump off here and you can make it to this ledge here. I mean, you can get to A very quickly, almost as quickly, pretty much as quickly as the opponent can do from their spawn. It's quite a good technique to know and learn and practice. It does take some practice. There are times where you might slide and bang into this box here, or you slide and miss the jump and go straight to that platform, or you jump too early and land short. So it will take some practice, but what you want to do is just slide jump, land to the right of the jump pad, slide into A, come back, slide, and then come back through this way. And then you can go back again for C, but land on the jump pad, bounce up to C, take C, and head home as well. So at full speed on Vendetta, what it looks like is running over here, slide jump, place the turret, slide, take A, come through, make sure you hit the jump pad. I have missed the jump pad a couple times before. Deliver it, pretend we've delivered that, slide. You could put another turret if you wanted to, but what you want to do is grab C, and then you have the choice of either running through here, or as you grab C, come back, go this way, and bringing it home. That's how you can get A and C pretty consecutively, one after another. And finally we have Rush. What I like to use with Rush is actually contest D. Now, as you know, the opposing side will likely, if they know the strategy, to use that rollout of the rush surfing across the top here, flying through the air and grabbing D very, very quickly. If you are aware and if you're noticing it, because of the spawn positions, if they go rush either first or last, because the spawn positions go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th operative spawns here. If they go either 1 or 5 for rush, they will have to spend some time running here before they get close enough in order to dash and then go over. That time that they spend running across and then dashing actually works in our favor because it gives us just enough time to beat them there by running, sliding, jumping, and then dashing over ourselves. Now, we don't have any fancy surfs to go from here. It's just a very straightforward run, slide, jump, bunny hop, and then dash. However, as long as they're taking their time, or if they're dilly-dallying, or they're coming from the far spawn over here, you can beat them there. However, if they're spawning in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th positions, generally they'll beat you there because right from the spawn here, I could press F and I'll almost immediately get into the surf without having to run very far, and it's just too hard to beat. So generally with rush, you want to kind of be aware and keep an eye out on how your opponent uses that surf over. If they don't use the surf and they go in the building and through, you're going to beat them there, so go for it. But you're not going to beat them there necessarily if they do dash and go over. However, you can still go for D because you can still kill them as they grab it and turn around, and that's when you take advantage and take D. So here with rush, what I do is I start my run, I slide jump, bounce, and then dash. That's generally one of the fastest ways to get over here. And what I would say is be patient with your slide jump. Don't immediately run and slide jump because you won't get too much momentum. Take the time, do a couple steps, slide, jump, dash. You can get there pretty quickly. And if you get this timing down and then you have to practice this, you can get to D pretty quickly. So run, slide jump, bounce, dash, and then even if they get there before you do, they'll likely be just here, or if not, just have grabbed it. That's when you can hopefully finish them off, grab it, and then bring it home yourself anyways. Now, one other thing I can do with rush is I personally don't like going for B with rush because you have to do some slide jumping and dashing. I'm not a fan of slide jumping through buildings because I'll hit my head on the doorways, or when I'm inside, I find hitting my head on the roof actually slows down my momentum, or the worst ones is completely stopping yourself on the inside of the doorway and then having to restart your run again. So I'm just not a huge fan of these movements. I don't generally go for that. So with rush, generally I check if I can go for D. If not rush, I like to also use the jump pad that I use for Vendetta. Come and grab A if I need to contest A, and then once I've grabbed A, is actually use my dash to get back very quickly and dash up through this gap there and go the same way I came. Only rush can do that. Or instead of going for A, what I like to do is come onto the jump pad, take C, and then you have two choices. Either just run through there or jump, jump, dash, and you can come up. A little bit dicey there, but another possible option if you wanted to. So there you have it. That's how you do a lot of the rollouts for the XM maps. These are just some that I like to personally use. Again, you don't have to use them. You might not want them because they might not work for you. I just like doing them. They're quick. Now they're going to take a bit of practice. You're going to need to jump in the training room and actually try these a couple times. You're not going to pick them up just from watching a video. So you have to go and try these yourself and get used to the slide jumping. Again, please go and check out Snail's video on how to do the running, slide jumping, and bunny hopping, because you'll need to know that for a lot of these techniques. Anyways, that's what I like to use. I hope you learned something. My name's Schmitty. I'll see you guys next time.